Hi, my name is Mia Schlopfer with GavTV News, and today we're going to be sitting down with the Gavilan trustee candidates. How do you plan to balance Gavilan's academic mission with its financial sustainability?
So Gavilan's academic mission is to make sure that students of all walks of life and all backgrounds succeed in attaining economic mobility, being socially active, and being successful with the education that they're receiving in Gavilan. So there is a saying that goes, tell me your priorities, tell me your budget, and I will tell you your priorities. So budgeting and fiscal responsibility and accountability does not happen in a bubble when you are leading or when you are part of a big institutional education like Gavilan. You have to have a planning, a constant planning, a constant north for how are you providing services to students? What kind of services the students are requiring or needed of you to succeed in the academic areas? And then you budget accordingly. It doesn't happen the other way. So I am really excited that Gavilan this next year is embarking on this strategic planning. Strategic planning is a must for all schools. Every so many years, we have to have a strategic plan that looks at the short and long-term goals for the college, and also based on a lot of participation from all stakeholders in the college, layered across, not just one group or this other group, but in general, we have to have a lot of feedback. So that's how I see that balance.
Well, let's start with this. I'm opening my phone here, and it says Gavilan College actively engages, empowers, and enriches the students of all backgrounds and abilities to build their full academic, social, and economic potential. So you're asking me how that mission statement is going to be with its financial sustainability here at the school. Financial sustainability is only taken care of by the amount of students that you have at the school. There's 82% of the money that comes into the school goes to the teachers, the rest is for everything else. So the economic viability of this school depends on the students. How do we get more students? You have to have better classes, you have to have more classes, and you have to have the classes that the people want. The people, the students, in my eyes, are the customers. Customers are always right, but we have to follow the guidelines of the state of California as well.
What role do you think transparency plays in the decision-making process, especially when decisions may be difficult?
In 1953, there's something called the Brown Act. Transparency is mandated by law, and I don't understand why this transparency thing has become such a big deal in California and national governments now. It's there. All of the meetings are open to the public. What we need to do is get the people to the meetings so that they know what's going on. Currently, we have Zoom to the trustees meetings, but you can't ask a question as an outsider at the meeting. If you're there in person, you can. So there's where it is. I just went to one of the oversight committee meetings for the Bond Measure X, which is about $250 million. It's billion dollars, $250 million that this oversight committee is supposed to be handling and making sure that they're the stewards. We, the trustees, are the stewards, and they're there to make sure that the money is spent properly, and then we check it and make sure that everything is released. At that meeting, the contractor said, oh, we have $55 million to build a new library and the administration offices. We have an $11 million overrun before we've put our first spade of dirt in. Not one of those people with the oversight committee had a question about it. As an audience member, I said, hey, is there any kind of light item information that we have? What has gone up this much? It's just crazy. Never got an answer. As a trustee member, I will get those answers and find out what's going on. Because if they're $11 million over budget at the beginning of the project, what are they going to be at the end of the project? I've been in business for 40 years. I've built many houses. I have 11 income properties. I have two iconic businesses, the Rappazzini Winery and the Garlic Shop. I've had 22 stores. I've had to deal with every kind of building that there is, construction, and I know how to balance a budget. And you don't balance a budget by just saying nothing when they say it's 20% overrun. So we'll check on those things.
So in my opinion, transparency is the result of inclusive and accountability practices. If you do not have inclusive practices, you don't collect the information, the feedback that you need to collect ongoingly from all the stakeholders in the college and from the community at large, because that's why we say the Gavilan is a community college. You need to put all of that together in order to create transparencies. You have to have practices such as the board holding study sessions, open study sessions to the public, to the students, accessible to the faculty, where you look at all of the aspects of making major decisions, and you use those study sessions to look at data, to look at all of the information that you need, and to collect the information from the public. So you need to have constantly the pulse of what is needed out there, what the populations, the different populations are needing, so you can move on in order to create that vision of the future, in order to do the balancing of where you need to go.
What experience do you have in managing organizations, budgets, or government issues?
So for 30 years, I was a teacher, classroom teacher, became a teacher coach. So I worked with a larger number of teachers when I was coaching at the district level. But about 10 years into my teaching, I was tapped on the shoulder and said, you need to move into the administration of these projects. You have the skills and the knowledge you need. First had knowledge of teaching these students and know their needs. So I became the coordinator of programs for migrant farm worker students in Hollister. After that, I came back to Gilroy and I worked on that program, but it was also added another responsibility, the English learner programs. And then it came the homeless programs. All of those programs are heavily directed in terms of what their guidelines are and the budgets by the state and federal regulations. So I learned all of that throughout my experience. And I have to say that after I moved to leading those programs, I never left. I was tapped also by the County Office of Education to move at that level in San Jose. And with that, I was the lead. We had the lead program to look at what was happening at three other counties, which were San Benito, Santa Cruz, and Monterey. And I was the person in charge of looking at what the schools were doing in those counties to serve the English learner programs and to also use their funds, the Title III funds that were coming from the federal programs. I did all the reporting on that, and so I was in charge of CDE on that whole area.
I've been involved since I was a child. My mother was a school teacher here in Gilroy. My father was a union organizer, and we were involved in 4-H. So even at a young age, I was open to all that kind of stuff. I was the first president of the Visitors Bureau here in Gilroy, California. Like I said, I've had all these businesses as well. All of them been successful. I've been involved with the Garlic Festival from day one. I was the one who, with the Gilroy Bonanza Days, we did the very first garlic French fries at the Garlic Festival that was out at the ranch. I've been involved with raising funds for Make-A-Wish. I also this year did a $12,000 fundraiser just for Operation Freedom Paws. So the community involvement here, as opposed to my opponent, She does everything for herself through school and with Santa Clara school system. She just recently came back to Gilroy and she's working here. But everything she has, all of her endorsements, everything are from people that are in the city of Santa Clara. My endorsements come from Bob Garcia, Shireen Carr, who is a dean here. Bob Garcia was the 1972 winningest coach in the nation here. And there's ways to bring Gavilan College back to what it was back in the day. You guys probably don't know this, but this school is 20th from the bottom of all colleges in the state of California. Right over the hill, Cabrillo College is up there at number 1. The income that you get from an AA degree here is $35,000 a year. You go up 40 miles and it's up to $185,000 depending on which college you go to up there. We don't have the advanced classes for you to be able to take your knowledge, learn more, and be able to get those classes transferred to a 4-year university for your education. That's what's wrong here.
How can you ensure that Gavilan College meets the needs of its students?
What are the needs of the students here? We have to identify those needs. Those needs, in my opinion, are to have the classes that the people want. One of the biggest classes down in Salinas at Hartnell are culinary classes. I'm a graduate of the California Culinary Academy. I know a lot about that. If you have friends that want to get into being a barber, they can't get their certificates currently because they can't get the classes here at the beauty school to get in their hours to be able to get their certificates. So all around Gilroy, there's these schools, but they haven't got the accreditation to be able to get them their certificates. Why haven't we improved that here? And above and beyond all that, we need to, AI is a big thing right now. We need to have classes so people understand what AI is, to be able to know computer sciences. But what's next? That's what's really important. What's next? That's what you need to be prepared for.
Well, like I just said, the complexities of figuring out the needs of all the students at Gavilan is really big, because Gavilan not only has recently high school student graduates, recent graduates, but they house adults at different entry levels. They house students who are looking to transfer to 4-year colleges, and it's a tremendously diverse college in terms of their population. So over 60% of the students are Hispanic. There's about 24% of white students, and there is a smaller percentages of Asian and African Americans. So with all of that diversity, you have to have constant communication and constant feedback from students to determine those needs, and not to have a plan that never changes. You know, local boards have a lot of local like I say, leeway to adapt to the needs of the students and the communities, and also promoting a transparent and collaborative governance where you're constantly looking for that feedback loop that you need. So that's how you go about determining what are the bigger needs, what are you going to tackle first, and what can you layer out for future action.
What do you believe are the most pressing challenges facing higher education today, and how would you help our college navigate them?
So a pressing challenge is always funding. Funding is always a pressing challenge because as you see, when things up in the top governments, start to get more and more scarce, when funds are more scarce, then it all trickles down. And it trickles down to education tremendously. So what I would like to continue to encourage at Gavilan is to continue to pursue grants, not just local grants, but regional grants and state grants to fund specific programs. For example, the idea of expanding your STEM emphasis in the college There are grants that you can pursue to get funds to help you with that. And grant funding is something that I'm very familiar with because I wrote many grants when I was, working at the public school systems. So not only grants, but also investment from private industry. And we need to reach out a little bit more over to the Silicon Valley companies, since Gavilan is creating that workforce that this whole area needs. We need to partner a little bit more heavily with those corporations. They, believe me, they want to go where they're needed, where they see an advantage to them. And so we need to expand beyond South County and pull from Bay Area and those folks around us.
The most pressing things that are here at this college is that many of the classes are remedial. So the students that want to go on to higher education are not able to get those classes that they need to be able to go further. So many of our students, doesn't matter if they're 20 years old, a veteran, a housewife that wants to get back into the market, or somebody who's retired and wants to learn something new. They don't have the opportunity to take the classes that they need to be able to go on to further their education and to be able to further their careers.
How would you ensure that the voices of students, staff, and faculty are heard, even if their concerns may be at odds with larger institutional goals?
Don't know what you mean by the larger institutional goals, but the students and the teachers, the ASB needs to be involved heavily in with the trustees, as well as I believe there's a faculty senate, and they need to have an open line to be able to come and speak to each of the trustees. They also need to be at the trustee meetings, and if they're interested, they need to express that interest and not just talk about it amongst themselves. The squeakiest wheel always gets the oil, and you gotta speak up, but do it in a way that is positive.
So like I said before, transparency comes from inclusive practices and also from equity practices. Once you are working with students, with groups on campus, when you are bargaining in good faith for higher salaries, when you have better communication, open communication with everybody on campus, then you are in the best position to be listening to what's going on, what the students want, what the faculty needs, because sometimes it's not just what you want, but is it what is needed by the larger population. And how do we determine that? It requires a lot of effort. It requires a lot of surveying students, focus groups, constant focus groups of the community, opportunities for the community to give us that input. And that is not just you are compelled to do that, but when you're working with federal and state programs and even earmark grants, you are required to do that. So you need to continue to expand on those efforts.
What is your vision for the future of Gavilan College?
The future of Gavilan College, I believe, is very bright. Gavilan has made a lot of adjustments in the last few years to be kind of the lead institution around the South County area to produce the best professional and the best prepared students for transfer, I believe, in this area. Students do not need to drive to San Jose, to other campuses. Gavilan offers so many things and benefits that I want to see that to be better communicated to the students, to the prospective students. I also have a big interest in reaching out to the local school districts that feed into Gavilan to have a better collaboration in getting seniors and juniors of those high schools to start experiencing what the college life is. and to start to see themselves here in Gavilan as a prospective student or as a dual enrolled student, which I think is missing sometimes, because the students, when they graduate, sometimes they don't even know what Gavilan College offers. They might have come for a visit, for a little tour, but they don't know really what the opportunities are. So we need to continue to grow that, and we need to continue to be very, very watchful of staying on top, because Gavilan, I'm glad to report, has no deficit factor in their budget for the next 3 years projection. So we're doing well, and we need to continue to do well.
When I attended Gavilan College the first time, I was 14 years old. I had a different way of learning, and so I took chemistry classes out here, and I also took nutrition classes because that really was my thing. I was the first male to ever win a full ride scholarship through General Foods, through the 4-H program. So all my education was paid for whatever I wanted to do from them. I was the first national winner in that. That exposure at that young age for me was what prompted me to be able to go on to the success that I've had in life. Gavilan College, back in those days, we had world-class musicians, singers, songwriters come to Gavilan College because we had this wonderful theater that's here that had wonderful acoustics. So people wanted to come and play here just because of this theater. That thing is falling apart now. The money has been there to take care of that, and it hasn't been done. While our money sits there, just in the last year, say there's $100,000 that we had to spend, it's now worth $90,000 because we lost $10,000 approximately just because of the inflation. While this stuff sits around and just gets worse, we're losing money, and that's something that we need to make sure that people get on the bandwagon for and say, let's get it done. We've got the money, let's get it done, let's get it done right, let's get it done frugally so that the money, biggest pet peeve I have, and what made me finally sign the papers to run for this office, is there's new signs out in the front. They budgeted $1.5 million, and they're proud of themselves because they spent $1.3 million for signage. That money could have gone to a lot of other things, and I'm very sad that the school has done that. But I'm quite optimistic that we're going to turn it around. I'd like you to vote for me. I'd like you to tell your friends to vote for me, because I'll be there and I will champion for all the students and the citizens of Gilroy, Morgan Hill, and Hollister.
You'll now have an opportunity to give a closing statement.
In closing, I'd like to say that I've had many people in many avenues of life that are endorsing me. I decided to do this at the last minute because of the passion that I have for Gilroy and Gavilan College. Bob Garcia, Coach Bob Garcia, says, Alex Larson is the leader that we need to put students first and help our community college thrive. His commitment to prioritizing students' needs and fostering an inclusive environment sets him apart. I am proud to endorse Alex Larson. Shireen Kaur, as a former Gavilan employee for over 35 years, I proudly endorse Alex Larson for trustee. His commitment to putting students first, strong community ties, and ethical leadership make him ideal candidate. Alex understands our students' needs and will work tirelessly for success at Gavilan College. Shireen Kaur. She was the dean of students here at one point. I think that other people blowing my whistle and praising is easier than me saying what is good about me. I really, really hope that you vote for me. Gavilan College currently has less than 35% of its students graduating with an AA. We need to make sure that we can increase that, and over the next 4 years, I want to really be able to increase that by at least 20%. My name is Alex Larson, alexlarson.com. You can find out everything about me that I've done since childhood until yesterday. Please vote. November 5th is the last day you can vote, but best if you open up your envelope with your voter ballot, check my name first, then go on to vote for everybody else. Thank you very much, alexlarson.com.
I am a first-generation immigrant from Venezuela. I arrived in the U.S. 40 years ago, And I have lived in the community of Gilroy for 36 of those 40 years. So Gilroy is my home where I have put on my roots and have established a family of friends here, which really have been my support system away from home. I came to the Gilroy Unified School District because I was recruited during the flourishing of bilingual programs in California. I went to school at Utah State University, and that's where I earned my bachelor's degree in education. So I came to the Gilroy Unified School District and worked here as a bilingual teacher. I also worked in the Hollister School District, again as a bilingual teacher, and also as the lead of programs that had to do with all of the disadvantaged students. I led the Migrant Ed program for farm worker students. I led the homeless program, homeless students program, and the recent immigrant and English learners programs in different districts. So I retired 4 years ago from the public education system after serving all this time working with student populations that were underrepresented. And I decided that I wanted to continue to contribute to education and in a different capacity. So now I work for an organization that is statewide called CALSA, where I work with multiple districts working on improvement of their English learner populations. And I now want to serve here in my community in Gilroy as a Gavilan College Trustee Area 4. And that is my number one reason for running, is to continue to do my work in education. I am running for Gavilan College Board Trustee for two major reasons. One, because you need trustees in your board that know all of the complexity of what it takes to run a board and to be a responsible board member, to understand what your role is, and to be able to collaborate in governance with your fellow board members. I'm also running because I am honoring members of my family who have been persecuted politically during the current situation in Venezuela. They don't have the civil liberties that we have here in the United States. And to honor my fellow family members and friends who are spread all over the world because they have to leave Venezuela for political reasons, I'm doing that for them too. So I want you to know that that's my other motivation for running, is to make sure that the democracy and the democratic values of this country are preserved, and I'm here to be part of that.
Thank you so much to both candidates for sitting down with us today. Remember to get out there and vote. And until next time, this has been GavTV News.